Alright, here I'm going to walk you through the basics of creating an object. Okay, and the goal here is that we're going to kind of get more and more advanced with our abilities. So let's create, as you can see, a public document. I can't make private because I have a free subscription. So we're going to call this a box. Alright, and so hopefully you've watched those videos and you've kind of learned some things about them as you were watching them. And the one thing that I'm going to really point out right now is that there's a couple keys. The first key is that you're going to start with a sketch and then extrude it. And that's the basics of how this works. This is parametric modeling software, which means that basically, like Tinkercad would be, that we've been using so far, is considered like a primitive based modeling software. You start with those basic shapes and build them together. This is a parametric one where we kind of start with a sketch and set the relationships to things. And what you'll maybe start to notice is this is a lot more powerful, but there are some things that are a little bit easier to do in Tinkercad that are a little bit more complex here. So what we're going to do though is we're going to make a box. Hopefully you also notice that it's helpful to have a plan for what you're going to do. So we're making a box that's going to be basically 60 by 25 millimeters, a small box. It's going to have 3 millimeter thick walls. Okay, and so we're going to start with this. So what we'll do is we're going to start with the, we'll do it, we're going to create a sketch, and we have to choose a plane. So we'll click the front or top here. I click top, which is fine. Now, as I sketch this, I want to reorient the screen so it's easier for me to see. So I'm going to press the N key. Okay, and that's going to kind of bring it up here. I'm going to move it around. Okay, now as you're going to watching this, understand that I've been using Onshape for about a week at this point, and so there's things that probably could be done easier than the way I'm doing them, but the goal here is just to kind of show you how you can go about doing this. Okay, so we created a sketch. Let me walk us through that. So we click here for a sketch. I'm choosing the front plane. I'm going to choose, you're going to leave this open. You can move it aside if you want. I'm going to click the N key to kind of move it normal or perpendicular to the screen. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a rectangle. And you see that there's a couple options for drawing a rectangle. One where I can kind of choose 2 corners like that. And the other where I can draw one starting from the center. I'm going to use this one so I can kind of keep it locked around the center here. Okay, and so here we have my blue rectangle. Now my goal is, before I do anything with it, is to make it turn everything black. And so when everything turns black, what that means is that it's completely constrained. Okay, and that means that it's basically nothing can change arbitrarily. I can't click and drag things, stuff like that. So I'm going to press the escape key to get rid of this rectangle thing. You're going to see that I can control this by moving it around though. Okay, and so I need to set dimensions, and the way I can set dimensions is by clicking this button here that says dimension. You can click the D key to bring that up as well. So I'm going to set the distance between here and here as 25, actually let's make it a little bit bigger, let's say as 45 millimeters. Okay, and you'll see it kind of resize it, and I'm going to click this one and this one. I'm going to set those as 60 millimeters. Okay, now you can see that this all turned black, which means that it's fully constrained. You might have also seen that you can over constrain, so I can click this and maybe I'll set that as like 15. And so now everything got really upset because I cheated, or I basically like broke it. I said that this was in the center of this line at the beginning, and I said this distance was 60, and so that means this has to be 30 and it can't be 15. And so there's a conflict here that has to be resolved before it can continue. So I could delete this or delete this. I'm going to delete this one right here. Okay, so the next step now is to turn this into a box. Okay, now what we're doing here so far would be easier to do in Tinkercad. Okay, but later we'll start to see why this is potentially more useful. So my sketch here is finished, so I'm going to click the checkbox. And so the next step is to actually turn it into a box. The way I do that is by clicking this extrude. Okay, so I'm going to click extrude. So I need to choose a face to extrude. So I'm going to choose that face. I'm going to kind of rotate it so you can see. And let's say that we want our box to be 40 millimeters tall. Okay, so now I have a, let's go 50. So I have a 50 millimeter tall box, okay, that we just made and extruded. Okay, and I'm going to click check right here. I can kind of use these keys right here to reorient it. Okay, so here's my box. And now what I want to do is I want to, and you can see I can kind of highlight that sketch that I started with to see where it came from. And now we need to make an opening in our box. So what the next thing will be to make another sketch. Okay, and I need to choose a new sketch plane, and I'm going to sketch it on the face of this box we just made. So I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to click the N key so it goes perpendicular. I'll zoom in a little bit. And so what I want to do here is I want to make sure that this box has 3 millimeter walls. So what I can do is there's this option right here that says offset. Okay, so I can click this, and then I can click each of these like that, and you can kind of move it around, and I'll press enter, and then I can type in the distance I want, 3 millimeters. So now I've created a 3 millimeter offset. Okay, so the next step from here is to make this into a hole. So I'm going to go ahead and click check here to finish my sketch. So I've got that opening there, and now I'm going to choose extrude again, and I'm going to click this face. I'm going to click now to remove. Okay, do you see how it's cutting into it? And when I do so, instead of, I want the bottom to be 3 millimeters thick too, and so there's options here where it's blind, which says I don't care how big this box is, I'm just going to do a certain amount. Or I can say I want it up to that face by saying up to face, and what that allows me to do is that it will allow me to set that distance and then later change the box. So I'm going to set it up to this face right here, and you see how it kind of cut all the way through, but I don't want it to cut through. I'm going to offset it 3 millimeters. Okay, so do you see now that it went 3 millimeters short? I guess it's kind of hard to tell, but it only cut it up to 3 millimeters away. And so now what will happen if I do that is that if I go and change the height of this box by, say, making it 70 millimeters, it's still going to be that 3 millimeters. So here's a way we could look at this. So if I can look at this as a section view, which lets me look at like a cross section of my box. Okay, and now I can change this extrude to 100, and you'll see that it's still 3 millimeters there. I can change this to 20. Okay, and still be 3 millimeters there. Now I don't know what happens if I make it less than 3, but this is kind of the power of this parametric modeling. Okay, I can also go back to this first sketch, and I can say, you know what, I only want this box to be 45 millimeters that direction. So I press enter and check, and now it made the box skinnier. I still have my 3 millimeter offsets though. Okay, and so now I've made a box, but I'm not done yet. One thing that I'm going to want to do here is make these corners rounded, or these edges. So I'm going to select these edges here, and this is something that we can't do in Tinkercad that's really helpful, especially when we were working on some of those projects where we wanted curved edges. So I've selected these 4 corners. I'm going to choose this button here that says fillet. Okay, and do you see how it kind of made them curved? And that's a 5 meter radius. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, like a 2 meter radius, and it rounded off those edges inside. Maybe we'll round off the outside edges too. Or the other option we have is similar but slightly different. is called a chamfer. So we can choose this one right here, and we'll set this one at maybe like a 3mm chamfer. Okay, and what this has done is you can see it kind of chopped off those corners. Okay, and so now we have a box. Okay, and hopefully this is enough to kind of get you started. Okay, so you can, the key here is that we can sketch on faces. Maybe I want to make a hole in this face. So let me go ahead to where I'm at, and we're going to make another sketch. I'm going to sketch on this face, and let's make it normal to me. And what we're going to do here is we will go ahead and let's do something fun. Let's make some letters. Okay. We're going to put the word hi in there. Okay, and then let's go ahead and see what other tricks that we have. Well, let's do this. Let's set an arc underneath it. Or yeah, it's gonna be. Let's see if so. It wants to lock to here. I'm gonna press Shift so it doesn't. I'm gonna put it right here under the eye, and I'll put it like this. Okay, then maybe make it like a little smiley face. So we'll do an offset, and we'll do an offset of maybe like 0.9mm, we'll say. So let me connect these two right here. Okay, and so let's do some dimensioning. Let's say that this distance right here is, we'll go with 10mm. Okay, we'll say that this distance right here, we'll go 14. Oh, didn't like that. Okay, we'll get rid of that one. Let's say that though this is can I do Alright, well we won't worry too much about these yet because I don't want to get into too many of these yet. So we'll do that in a different video. Let's go with what we have here. So I'm going to do an extrude now. And so let's click extrude. I'm going to click this and this. Oh. So the H and the I. See how they're popping out? Let's make those a little smaller. So let's make those just come out 3mm. So now they're popping out 3mm like that. And then I'm going to make another extrude. And I want to choose, oops, I don't want all of sketch 3, I just want, so the sketch 3 disappeared, so I had to click this I to make it reappear. And I'm just going to choose this right here. And I want to remove that piece. And I'm going to remove up to face. And I'm going to remove it up to this face right there. Okay? So now you have the little opening in the box. Okay? So this is kind of some of the ability, kind of what you can do with this. I'm going to give you a series of challenges, and they're going to help you figure them out. For each challenge, I'm going to record a video showing how to do it, or at least how I would do it, which is not the only way. And you can use it as a resource, but I also want you to try to do it without my help. Okay? Hopefully this is enough to get you started.